Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar session, The Necessary Competencies for a Successful DevOps Team. My name is Alexander Mazurek with Quint Wellington Redwood, and I'll be your host during today's session. So now just a few things about our organization, Quint Wellington Redwood. First off, we are founding members of the DevOps Agile Skills Organization, or DASA, along with the Lean IT Association, or LEADA, which helps in creating really high performance IT. Just a couple of our organization. It's a fun fact that we are celebrating our 25-year anniversary this year. We started off in 1992 over in Amsterdam, but today we've expanded to be a completely global company with offices all over the world, with over 200 consultants operating on just about every single continent in 49 countries. And just one little fun fact to also leave you with is that we train 30,000 professionals every single year, from everything from DevOps to Lean IT to other more traditional methodologies that have been out there, such as Agile, COBIT, Prince2, some of the things you may have heard of in the past. Now, these are the key areas in which we help our clients. We help them with their digital strategy, especially in this area of digital transformation, in Lean, Agile, and DevOps, of course. We also help them with their data. Data is really everything to stay and getting most value you can out of your data. Help them with their transformational leadership and help them transform to high-performance teams. We help companies with their sourcing strategy and their benchmarking, sort of the the vendors that they deal with, especially in IT. We help them with their strategy there. We help with GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. We also help with CM in service integration and management. And last up, as I mentioned, of course, we do the training and coaching for helping teams to become high-performing. Now I just want to formally introduce our presenter today, Gwendolyn Brink. She is a consultant here with Quint, specializing in both DevOps and Agile transformations. We're very lucky to have her with us today. Thank you for joining us, Gwendolyn.
Thank you, Alexander. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome from my side as well. As Alexander introduced, today I will tell you about competencies. What competencies are needed in a DevOps team? Because what we see today is that DevOps in a team, they're working together, but do they really work together, or do they just sit together? First of all, I will tell you more about the challenge Dev and Ops are facing. And then, if they are really working together, what does change in their role and function? Does the team consist of specialists or generalists? And then, as Alexander also told, high-performing teams, that's one of the goals we really want to strive for, and heroes do not fit in this high-performing team. As last part, I do want to cover the competencies needed and also relate this to the DASA framework. So let's start with the challenge Dev and Ops are facing. If we go back to the way it was, how it was before, you had two teams. You had a development team and an operations team. The development team is responsible for change, and the operations team is responsible for the stability. This means that they do have different responsibilities and different goals, so they do not understand each other, and you will have the wall of confusion. The wall of confusion, or what is called a barrier. And this is, in short, why DevOps is introduced and why it is used in IT development organizations. And only if you want to become a DevOps team or a high-performing team, you need to survive. Organizations need to survive. They need to adopt the DevOps practices to create a culture of high-performance IT. You have to focus on cultural and operational elements that will help you to create this high-performance team. And we need to experience this, because unfortunately there is no silver bullet that says this is the way how you have to do it, or this is the way people need to react. You just have to start and continuously improve, because continuous improvement is one of the main aspects in DevOps. Another principle of DevOps is cross-functional autonomous teams. And cross-functional autonomous teams, that is what I want to talk to you about today. Because in the old world, when we worked in silos, every silo had its own team. So every silo was a competence-based team or had a culture of heroes. But when you work DevOps, you need to collaborate effectively, and doing DevOps requires a culture that brings development and operations people together so that they understand each other's perspectives and in that way become really cross-functional. And to make this work, how do job roles and functions change? And let me first tell you the first thing that change is the shared accountability of teams. Dev and Ops have shared responsibilities and shared accountability. Only if you have those two together, then you will become a real team. I worked in siloed teams, and really the development team said, "Oh well, just go ahead with this application, just release it. We didn't test it, but we know that the operations team will handle it when there are a lot of incidents." And this is really not what you want to achieve. You want to achieve shared accountability and shared responsibility. But then the question is, how do you become a DevOps team? There are 3 steps that are important in becoming a DevOps team. First of all, design the team. Design the team, it means filling the questions: what is a team? What is our goal? Who is the client? Only when you have those 3, you can start building the team. And with building, I mean, you don't have the team there and work smoothly from the beginning. I see in Agile and DevOps implementations that people expect from tomorrow it works better. But sometimes it takes even a year or even 2 years. So building the team is one of the most important elements. Continuous improvement also is the key in this, building the team. And as a 3rd step, you need governance. Governance, one of the items in governance is leadership. You can have teams working perfectly, but if you don't have the right leadership, you will become, you don't become high performing. You need to have the soil to let the team grow. So you need to have the right leadership, and leadership need to know what they have to do to get the teams high performing. In one of our prior webinars, we talked about leadership. So I will talk about today more for the teams. What is a DevOps team? As the literature says, a collection of accomplished people possessing the essential complementary skills coming together for a common goal that needs completion. But what does that mean? It means joint responsibility, to be responsible together, and to be responsible from cradle to grave. So it means responsible from the first development throughout the production and until the app is shut down. And therefore you need team members that have specific characteristics. They need to have a kind of a sense of responsibility. If you want to join a DevOps team, you really need to feel responsible for the things you make. And secondly, you need all skills required in your team. If you are responsible for a product or a application, you need all skills required to fulfill the job. And in the end, the goal is to develop and maintain an application or service from the end to end, or in other words, from cradle to grave. 3 qualities can be used in the teams to be more effective or to become a DevOps team. And let's talk about the agile, self-organizing, and cross-functional. Are all terms that you hear a lot these days. But what can you use from agile in DevOps? Agile means flexibility, and also you focus on the client, and that are 2 aspects that are really important in DevOps. If you focus on clients, and if you focus on what the client really wants, then you know what you want to build and what the purpose of your DevOps team is. And also flexibility. If you are very flexible and you know what your customer wants, you can also create your product or application in a way that you really create what your customer wants. And then self-organizing. It sounds very fun to be self-organizing, but it asks responsibility. And not only responsibility from the team members, but it also gives responsibility to the leadership. You need to give your team mandate, and so that they can take responsibility for their own actions. And if they make mistakes, it doesn't matter in the beginning, because they need to learn. They need to learn to be self-organizing. And the last one is cross-functionality. If you don't have everything in your team or every skill you need in your team, you cannot take responsibility for making the product or service from end to end. So the message is, let the team make their own decisions, or they will not become self-organizing, and use agile elements in your team to become more high-performing. But then, what really changes in the way you work? What really changes? If I start in with the old way of working, we created requirements, we talked about it, we had another meeting to talk about the requirements, then we had meetings to write them down, we had functional designs, and then in the end we gave it to somebody who built these requirements, and then in the end we tested it. But then in the test we realized that it wasn't what we asked for, or it wasn't what we wanted. And that is what we try to do in a DevOps team, and it's also called the shift to left. If you test right from the beginning, then you will find the mistakes as soon as possible, so early detection, and you will have time to adapt and time to really make what the customer wants. So, but there is one prerequisite for it, and that is automation. The more automation you have, the more you can focus on business value and more creativity you need. And in the end, this will achieve higher quality, you will be better cost effective, and you will have a shorter time to market. But does a team then need to consist of specialists or generalists? What we see today, one of the most significant aspects of the change from traditional IT to DevOps-based IT is an effect on roles. Because in the traditional IT organization, becoming a specialist was strongly encouraged. It had really benefits. If there was one person that really knew a lot about that item or that application, you really always knew where to go with your question. But then, when this guy went away on a holiday or just looked for another job, you didn't know where to look, or you didn't know the answer. So as a DevOps team developed, the role of the IT engineer also becomes more generic. And each team member needs to be available and needs to have the skill and knowledge to create or to be able to serve the application if another team member is not there to continue. And this brings us to T-shaped profile. A T-shaped profile is a profile that on the horizontal bar explains the ability to collaborate with experts in other disciplines and applying this knowledge in areas of expertise other than your own. And the vertical bar explains the depth of knowledge in a specific area. So these two bars represent the T-shaped profile. And so the vertical bar has the depth of expertise and the horizontal bar has the breadth of knowledge. But why is this so important to have T-shaped people and T-shaped roles in your team? I believe that continuous improvement is not only applicable for applications and services, but also applies to yourself. If you want to become better, or if you want to have a boost, you need to continuously improve yourself as well. I saw teams, DevOps teams in the beginning, and people said, why do I really need to become T-shaped? I'm a specialist in this, and I do want to stay a specialist in this. I don't want to broaden my horizon. But in the end, if they realize that they want to be responsible for the application from cradle to grave, and you want to use all the advantages of DevOps, yeah, you need to become more T-shaped. And in the end, it will give you more trust, and it will boost you, and it will boost your that you can develop yourself. So that is why T-shaped profiles are necessary in a DevOps team. Then I would like to talk to you about a taboo. A taboo in DevOps. There are no superheroes in DevOps. If you have just one guy that knows everything, the other team members will never learn. So what we say in DevOps is kill the superhero. Make sure that this superhero is a trainer or can educate all the other team members so that they can be equal. And only then a team can become more high performing. It's all based on equality and the level of authority. So high performing, what I talked about, the foundation of high performing is trust. Trust is so important. If you don't have trust, you cannot build on this. So what you can see is you need trust before you will go to shared norms and values. And only if you have these norms and values, you can have shared commitment. And if you do have shared commitment, only then you can have the joint team responsibility. And as a last step, you have results. And that's the other way around. I see often teams that say, yes, I know what we want, this is the result we want to achieve, let's go for it. And that's in the beginning, that's very good. But then if they continue, and there's no trust, the whole pyramid collapses because they discover we don't trust each other and we only run for the results. And what I really find the best way to illustrate this and to illustrate equality and team building is the marshmallow or the spaghetti game, it's called. And it's also based on the Kaizen mindset. And it's all about a game played with spaghetti and marshmallows. And you have a team from 6 to 8 people, and you'll give them 20 minutes to create a tower from marshmallows and spaghetti. And if you give this assignment to CEOs and managers, they will just have a fight and a chat about how to approach this, how to plan this, and how to do it. And then in the end, somebody says, we only have 2 minutes to build the tower. And they will just build the tower and it will collapse. And if you ask this at children from kindergarten, they will just build a high tower. And they will just start building. They are not biased by different levels or managers. They will just create a tower and start building immediately. So this is also what I mean with the shift to left. If we just start experimenting and be equal, then you will achieve higher results and become a high-performing team. So remember and keep this in mind. We talked about a lot of elements that are necessary in DevOps. But then, what competencies are needed? I always like to shape this around the DASA framework. I will tell you a bit more about DASA in a minute. But first of all, I will tell you about the capabilities that are required in a T-shaped team, a DevOps team, and that is shaped around 8 knowledge areas and 4 skill areas. These 8 knowledge areas, you can see them, they are business analysis, architecture, programming, and all these kind of things. And with architecture, I mean ensuring the fit between development and the current situation. You have a service design as an organization, or as a continuous delivery. I mean automated testing, deployment, version control, etc., etc. That are the 8 knowledge areas, and the 4 skill areas are the courage, team building, leadership, and continuous improvement. And all these 12 items you need to have represented in the DevOps team. All this is required to have in your team to be able to become a good DevOps team. As I just talked about DASA. DASA is a DevOps Agile Skills Association, and we created a competence framework out of the knowledge areas and the skills areas. We created this framework to be able to connect all the DevOps items in what you need. And DASA is an independent and open association supporting the development of high-performance IT organizations. And DASA does that by offering practical guidance for development, for professionals, and also organizations. And DASA has a couple of trainings for DevOps, and it's the so-called DASA Qualification program. If you see it here, you have you see at the left side from 1 to 5, novice to master, and that are the levels of the levels you want to achieve or what you want to become as a DevOps or fundamentalist, practitioner. And what you can see, we have 2 trainings already, which is the first one is the fundamentals, which is at competent level. You know the basics of the DevOps, and it's the goal of it is that you understand what DevOps is, that you can apply it a little bit, and that you know what it is, and that you can set up your first team. And also the knowledge areas and skills areas are covered all the way. And then the practitioner training, I was one of the founders of this training. I was happy to create this one, and it takes you to the proficient level of courage, team building, leadership, and continuous improvement. So this training will cover 2 days of full courage, team building, and it shows also that it's very important to have leadership changed. Not only the teams that will become DevOps, but also you need to have a good soil that the teams need to grow on. So leadership needs to change as well. And as last part, we have the continuous improvement, which is important for persons, organizations, teams. It can be applied everywhere. Other 3 trainings that we will create later on are on expert level, and that's more focused on the real specialization. So enable and scale, specify and verify. So really become expert in these levels. So that will be created later on, the end of this year or next year. And that's the DASA qualification program, and helps you to understand more about DevOps. And DevOps, I relate these trainings to the T-shaped skills, the fundamentals training, the fundamentals DevOps training is the horizontal bar, and it will make you understand every aspect. And then the practitioner training, it will make the horizontal dash thicker. So you know the required skills, you know more about leadership, and that will give you more understanding of how to apply it. In this practitioner training, there are a lot of exercises to give you really these skills and tools to really apply it. So if you have the training, the next day you can really start and have the practical tips and tricks to start immediately. And then the other trainings and specialization are really setting the vertical line in the T-shaped skills.
Quint does offer those, so you can go ahead and start off at the DASA DevOps fundamentals level. If you'd like to do it actually for your organization or for your teams, we offer classroom training where one of our trainers can come on site and work with your teams to train you. We offer it in a virtual classroom setting where you can sign up for sessions that are hosted with an online trainer through a platform on the internet. And also we have now offer the e-learning, which is self-paced, where you are provided all of the materials to learn everything you need to take the examination for DASA DevOps fundamentals, and that's a nice low-cost way if you'd like to get started. And the very last thing is, if you have any questions for Gwendolyn directly, here is her information. You can feel free to email her directly if you have any inquiries. And last off, visit www.quintgroup.com if you'd like to learn more about Quint, our services, and what we do. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.